monster trucks. With their gargantuan tires, they're often built for shows and for stunts. But what about a monster bus? While there are a few that have been built for actual use, there's one example that has been manufactured and in continuous operation for the last 45 years. This is the story of the foremost Terra Bus, the most monstrous monster bus of them all. Hi, this is Jeffrey. Now, in a previous video, we have seen how famed Canadian inventor Joseph Armand Bombardier created a very unique tracked vehicle to carry passengers through the snow. While Bombardier's name became synonymous with transportation throughout the world, there was another, much lesser-known Canadian inventor who created what is probably the greatest snow bus of all time. It's a really interesting story, so let's get started in learning about the foremost Terra Bus. As we have seen previously, Joseph Armand Bombardier, whose company started with a snow-tracked passenger vehicle, turned his name into one that was, and still is, famously synonymous with transportation. But there was another equally brilliant Canadian inventor whose company created what is one of the most impressive snow buses of all time. Bruce Nodwell, a native of Saskatchewan, started out inventing mechanisms for gasoline pumps and pipelines, but quickly branched out into tracked sprocket devices and then vehicles. The Nodwell 110, developed in the mid-1950s, was the vehicle that put his company on the map, and over 1,500 were eventually built. But then in 1965, Bruce and his son started a new company he named Foremost Industries after the small town in Alberta. Foremost developed an improvement on an old concept in the 1970s when it built a track bus for Brewster Sightseeing, a company with a history of Canadian scenic tours dating back to 1892. In 1981, Foremost then took the concept even further for Brewster Sightseeing. Most of Brewster's buses were regular coaches, but the tour company needed something extreme for its glacier tours for tourists visiting the Columbian Ice Fields in Jasper, Alberta. And so, what would this new bus be? It was the Terra Bus! The first example, Brewster Fleet number 528, featured a Detroit diesel 6V92TA 9.05-liter V6 two-cycle diesel, making 253 horsepower. It also featured gigantic balloon tires that put only 15 psi of pressure on the ground and a six-wheel drive. These buses were basically low-range and only could hit 11 miles per hour when traversing the Athabasca Glacier. Foremost built these coaches to handle as high as 60% straight grades or 30% side grades. Brewster quickly added 23 more Terra buses to its fleet, starting after the first was delivered in 1981. Most of these buses, named Ice Explorers by Brewster, were even able to plow through water that was nearly 4 feet deep. Now, let's take a look at some of the basic specifications of the most recent version of the Foremost Terra Bus. Number 1, length is 42 feet 8 inches. Number 2, width is 11 feet 10 inches. Number 3, height is 12 feet 10 inches. Number 4, weight is 55,000 pounds. Number 5, passenger capacity is 56, and a smaller 36 passenger version is also available. Number 6, engine is the Cummins QSB 6.7L Tier 3 at 260 horsepower. Number 7, tires are the Goodyear Tundra or Terra tires of 66 inches by 43 inches. And finally, number 8, Top speed is 32 miles per hour. Terra Buses have proven largely reliable too. But sadly, in 2020, one Ice Explorer vehicle suffered from a terrible rollover crash. According to James Barbeau, an automotive engineer who studied the accident,
the bus allegedly exceeded its lateral slope gradability by 4% during a tour trip on July 18th. The bus rolled 4 to 6 times, with at least 2 full rotations in the air before landing upside down. The structure of the bus remained intact, but passengers didn't have seatbelts, and the driver allegedly wasn't wearing theirs. 24 of the 27 passengers suffered significant injuries, while 3 others, unfortunately, lost their lives in the accident.
But the Terra Bus would have a greater claim to fame than just transporting tourists around. If such an extreme vehicle was good for Canada, it was also a decent choice for scientists in Antarctica. A Terra Bus arrived in McMurdo Sound, the main U.S. ice station, in 1994 via cargo ship to aid the 2-decade-old transport vehicles the U.S. Navy has operated there since the 1970s. It would become the most famous Terra Bus of any of them built. Ivan the Terra Bus, as it was named through a contest held by McMurdo residents, had a pretty simple job. It had to be the world's most extreme airport shuttle bus. It joined a fleet that, as of 2011, had 375 vehicles of every conceivable kind built for the harsh Antarctic environment. But as the decades wore on, Ivan was aging and parts for its particular model were becoming impossible to obtain, and the cost to maintain it became extremely high. While it seemed that the end was near for Ivan the Terra Bus, as it was scheduled to be sent to a California auction for scrap, thankfully this was not the case. In early 2025, it was arranged to save the bus, and Ivan was transported to Christchurch, New Zealand, where it will remain until a more permanent home is decided. Today, Foremost still exists and produces updated versions of the Terra Bus, both in 36 and 56 passenger versions. Certainly, the Terra Bus is without doubt the most impressive snow bus of all time. And so there it is, the story of the foremost Terra Bus, including Ivan, the most famous one of all. Now, another item here is that Foremost has never publicly released how many Terra Buses have been built. So if there's anyone out there who knows, just let us know. So anyway, I hope you enjoyed this look at the Foremost Terra Bus. And as always, thank you so much for watching and have a great day. Bye.